Hey now, welcome to America's leading Formula One podcast. I'm Brian Saperstein. This is Rob Vale, and we are at the dirty side of the track. Rob, what are we doing this week?
This week, we are going to be doing our crash course into Formula One. For all those new listeners, hopefully something to help educate them. So when they're watching the races, things make sense. And for the veterans out there, it'll be ammunition for them to poke fun at us when we make lots and lots of mistakes, and they can revel in pointing that out to us. So really looking forward to this. Okay, what circuits is everyone going to be driving on this year? Let's hit the circuits for the first half of the season. We are going to kick things off in Bahrain, at the Bahrain International Circuit. I'm not a purveyor of the architecture of these courses. I know what I like when I see the races, but apparently this is a typical modern circuit with straights and corners, which to me, all circuits have got straights and corners, but that was the write-up that I found about it. It's one little thing is it's usually floodlit for the night races, and it actually maybe not being like a steeped in history and all this kind of stuff, it's given some pretty good races so far, I think.
Yeah, and with COVID, it moved to the back occasionally of the schedule, and they have a different version of it called the short. The Sakir Grand Prix, it may be called the same thing no matter what, but they have the short course from a couple years ago, which was so awesome to watch. It was one of my favorite races, so I really love watching cars go to Bahrain.
And then we go off and we take a big sip of crazy juice as we head to the Jeddah street circuit in Saudi Arabia, which when I was writing my notes up for this, I literally just written high-speed street track with a crazy combo of speed and walls because we've covered this in a previous episode, but we just knew before they even raced there that was going to have like a gazillion safety cars, and it did.
It did. It was second to last year. Now it's second from the front. So they don't have time to make any changes. It's as fast as Monza, but with walls. What?
The only thing they haven't got is like spikes coming out of the walls. They've kind of held back on that one. But
I mean, I'm waiting for like something to come out of the side, like, oh, you passed too fast, and a big barricade comes flying out. I mean, it is insane. And I just hope, once again, preemptively, everyone is safe.
And then we go, hopefully, I mean, I'm hoping, COVID permitting, that we're heading back to Australia, which we haven't been to for a couple of years now, I think. It usually hosts the opening race. It's the third one now. I like it. I don't know. I like it from a sentimental perspective. But as I was kind of digging into this, I kept seeing comments over and over again that you might get a safety car that spices things up, but it's not really the greatest of races. And I was like, no, it must be. I'm sure I love Australia. And I kind of started flicking through some stuff. I'm like, I think it was because it was always first and you had that natural hype of Formula One's back, yeah, that you kind of could forgive the race maybe. I don't know. I don't know what you think about Australia.
Next race.
Okay.
That's what I think. It's fine. It's fine. Like you said, it's fine.
Yeah. Then we go off to Imola, Italy. Historic track. It's also an infamous track. Unfortunately, it's the scene of the deaths of Senna and Ratzenberger, so it's been heavily revamped from safety perspectives, which was a good thing. It was dropped for a while and it came back in 2020, which I'm glad to see it back on the circuit.
When F1 goes to Italy, chef's kiss, just fantastic.
And then we come to the US, and all eyes are on Miami to see what the new street circuit's going to deliver. Anybody that's been on Twitter will have seen Brian stood outside the circuit. So other than us getting insanely excited about it and desperately begging for someone to take us there, there's not much to say about this one because we don't know what it's going to bring.
That's it. I can't play anymore, or we'll get fined. But I cannot wait for the Miami Grand Prix. It's going to be fantastic, even if it is around a football stadium. But we'll take it.
Then we pack up after coming all the way over from Italy. We're going to pack up and go back over again. I love the way they thought this one out. We head back over go back to Spain.
Paul told us it was a big mess. If you haven't listened to our episode with Paul Harris, he told us how hard it is to go back and forth. And they decided to go from Italy to Miami to Spain. And I'm not sure that makes sense, but we're doing it.
This one kind of, I don't know, because it's Spanish and I forced this view in my head, but whenever I see like the view of the track from above, I think it always looks like a bit like a bull's head with the two horns on there. It's not the best race in the world. It has an epic long straight, and the first corner I think is pretty tight, and then there's a couple of follow-on corners after that where all the action happens, and then you might as well just tune out for the rest of the lap and then wait for the next straight attack because it's. But anyway, that's my view of it.
Yeah, fine.
Then we head to My favorite, but not the favorite for racing, just the favorite for the spectacle, which is we rock up at Monaco. It's got to be the most famous and fanciest circuit of all of them, but I think it's the millionaires' playground where yachts and celebrities and casino winnings and all that kind of stuff gets more attention than the races, if we're honest. And we love it because of that.
We do. It is a procession. There's not a lot of overtaking. I would just give a couple notes. One, a couple years ago, when there was finally an overtake, we didn't see any of it. They showed the Lance Stroll clip of him holding his hands up. That's when Crofty actually says, "What is happening?" Here it is.
What has happened?
That's why he said that. And so they have their own television direction crew. I didn't know that. Like literally Formula One doesn't control the television episode. It's from the Monaco, F1 crew. So it's totally different. And a couple years ago, Kimi got in a crash, was so pissed, walked out of his car, didn't go back to the paddock, walked to his yacht in the marina and sat down in his yacht in his race suit. And for me, that's just baller level 1000. So
then we go to Baku in Azerbaijan, which is kind of a tale of two halves of a track. You've got the old town where it's very narrow and windy, and then it kind of opens out onto kind of the modern section, if you like. This one's kind of in the middle for me. It's had some enjoyable things, but it's not one that I'm like looking out for on the calendar to go, oh, can't wait to go to Baku. But
I like Baku, and that's where Charles stuffed it by the castle.
I am stupid. Yeah. I am stupid.
That's what he said, is he stuffed it right into the wall by the castle. Anyway, back to you.
Then again, hopefully with no cancellations, fingers crossed, we go back to one of my absolute favorites, which is the Gilles Villeneuve circuit in Canada. The man-made island. I've been up to Montreal once. I've seen the track. I've not been to the track, but I've seen it from a distance. It's just awesome. It's got the balance of absolutely everything. It's got mega straights. It's got an airpin. It's got fast corners. It's got everything. And then right at the end, before you start the next lap, you've got the Wall of Champions, which has claimed many a life. Well, not literally a life, sorry, but a car. Someone always bins it. I remember Schumacher binning it into there one year because it's just the perfect angle through that corner requires you to basically kiss the wall at a decent fair lick of speed. And I think you get that wrong, and there's no compromise on that one.
That's great. But let's talk about the real reason about Montreal. The bagels are fantastic in Montreal. There's St. Viator and there's Fairmont. And we will get into this as the race gets closer. But trust me, if you make it to Montreal, you got to check out the bagels. They're fantastic.
Then something close to my heart, we go to Silverstone for the British Grand Prix, which actually has a corner named after me, a Vale corner, which is 100% named after me. Don't go and look into that. Just take my word for it. It's named after me. People will say it's not the track it used to be. Maybe it's not. It hasn't coped with the cars getting better and faster and all this kind of stuff. But there's still some corners in there that you need to keep your foot for the floor and hope for the best and shut your eyes. I think it always gives good races, but maybe that's my British bias coming out.
I love the fact it's a former airfield. I mean, someone had a runway and goes, you know what we should do? Yeah, fast cars. Then
we go to the Austrian Grand Prix, which we covered this when we did our kind of season review, and we visited it twice back to back, and it was just meh. It looks when you and again I'm held my hand up to not being an engineer here or an architect of tracks, but when you look at it, all the pieces seem to be that this is going to be great. There's some climbs and falls and corner complexes and straights. And it's it's got all the recipe, but someone just didn't put the Lego pieces together properly. It's it just doesn't. Maybe this year with the new cars it'll be different, but not one I look out for. Then we go to France, and unfortunately not to Manicourt, which was, I used to love Manicourt. We go to the Paul Ricard, or Ricard. I'm not sure how you say that.
Well, you know better than me.
And as I was looking into this, it just kind of said, everyone's opinion was races have just been dull. But maybe it hasn't had a fair crack of the whip. It was dropped in 1919, only recently came back onto the circuit in 2018. So maybe it will be better with the new cars. But I think you've got a certain sweet spot and a love for this track, right, Brian?
Well, 2021 was its best race that I'd seen at Paul Ricard, but the paint job on the runoff areas. So basically they tarmacked the whole area and then made the track, and anything that's not the track, they just painted it red, blue, and white, or blue, red, and white, or I don't know the order. But it's got concentric kind of paint job circles going around it. And if you look at it at the wrong time, you'll throw up because the cars are going by at 220 miles an hour. And it is, it's not my favorite track, but you know what? I saw in 2021, it was a good race. I enjoyed it. It can be redeemed. I'm looking forward to 2022.
Okay, and then we finish up the first half of the season in Hungary at the Hungaroring. It's one of those races where if you get on pole, you've got massive advantage. If you get away clean from pole, then I think I didn't look into the stats, and maybe I should have done, and maybe it's a SAP stat at some point, but I think pole has led to being the winner on a number of occasions. There's not a huge amount of overtaking opportunities on this one.